Hello Star Wars fans, and welcome to episode 35 of Journey into Legends. Today I'm going to be reading and reviewing the Junior Jedi Knights series. Junior Jedi Knights is a series of 6 children's novels by Nancy Richardson and Rebecca Moesta that follow Anakin Solo and his friends on some of their Jedi adventures. After thoroughly enjoying the Young Jedi Knights series, I'm really excited to jump into these novels, so without further ado, let's read and review. Alright, let's of course start with Book 1, The Golden Globe. I thought this was a really fun start to the series. I'm already liking the characters of Anakin Solo and Tahiri. I think their interactions are a lot of fun, and I like their character development thus far. I also really liked the character of Ikrit, who's basically a bunny rabbit who also happens to be a Jedi Master, in the same vein as Yoda. As this is only the first book in what seems to be a multi-book storyline, the plot that gets introduced here involving the Golden Globe doesn't get resolved, but I enjoy the setup in this book nonetheless. The Golden Globe itself, as well as the mysterious children trapped inside of it, is very mysterious and honestly a little creepy. Overall, of course this book isn't a masterpiece, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. Let's move on to Book 2, Lyric's World. Alright, next we have Book 2, Lyric's World. In this one, Anakin and Tahiri accompany their new friend Lyric back to her homeworld of Yavin 8 for her metamorphosis. Once they reach the planet, Anakin and Tahiri must protect a vulnerable Lyric from a variety of native monsters such as snakes, spiders, rodents, and giant birds. In the end, Lyric's metamorphosis into what is essentially a mermaid is successful, and Anakin and Tahiri, accompanied by a Force-sensitive native named Sana, return to Yavin 4 and are one step closer to saving the children trapped inside the Golden Globe. I enjoyed this book, but overall, I think I preferred the first one, for a few reasons. Firstly, this book focuses less on character development, something that the first book had plenty of. Secondly, this one lacks the eerie tone that some of the first book had, specifically the scenes involving the Golden Globe itself. But again, I still enjoyed this one. I think the various monsters made for some good tension and overall resulted in a fun adventure. Now let's move on to Book 3, Promises. Alright, next is Book 3, Promises, and in this one, Tahiri, accompanied by Anakin, returns to her home planet of Tatooine to fulfill a promise she made to her Tusken tribe. Basically, what this promise entails is that if she can survive a week in the desert alone and make it back to her tribe in time, the tribe's leader and her adoptive father Slivin's life will be spared, and he will remain the tribe leader. Along with this, Slivin also agrees to tell Tahiri all about her biological parents and how she came to live with the Tuskens. Overall, this book is probably my favorite of the series thus far. I really enjoyed Tatooine as a setting for this adventure, and this book does wonders for Tahiri's character development, involving both her biological and adoptive families. In a way, this book reminded me of the Young Jedi Knights book, Lightsabers, with that book focusing on Tenel Ka, and this one focusing on Tahiri. Another thing this book does is it ties up our Golden Globe plotline, and actually that is probably my only complaint with this book. I really enjoyed the Tatooine storyline, but all the time they spent on that gave the book very little time to wrap up the Golden Globe stuff, so that resolution felt a bit rushed and unearned. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book, and so far it's my favorite. Now let's move on to Rebecca Moesta's trilogy, starting with Book 4, Anakin's Quest. Alright, the next one is Book 4, Anakin's Quest, and in this one, Anakin and his friends journey to Dagobah so that Anakin can discover the truth about himself in the Cave of Evil. Overall, I enjoyed this one quite a bit. It deals very heavily with Anakin's doubts about his ancestry and his destiny, and like the first book, this one's got a lot of character development for him. Another thing I really enjoyed about this book was that we learned a lot about Ikrit's backstory, such as that he was actually Yoda's apprentice. One thing I didn't like about this book was the new character, Ulder. Now, Ulder is a kid that wants to be a Jedi, but as of yet, it doesn't seem like he has the Force potential to become one. Now, that's a fairly decent setup for a character, but unfortunately, Ulder is insufferably written. He's super cocky and rude, and overall is just a super unlikable character so far. I'm hoping that he'll improve in the next few books, because he was easily my least favorite part of this one. Anyways, let's move on to Book 5, Vader's Fortress. Alright, now we have the penultimate book, Book 5, Vader's Fortress. In this one, Anakin, Tahiri, Ulder, Ikrit, Tion, and R2 travel to Vijun and explore Bast Castle, aptly named Vader's Fortress. Here they navigate through a variety of booby traps protecting a holocron as well as none other than Obi-Wan Kenobi's lightsaber. While there, they are confronted by a magician named Orlok, who's also looking for the holocron and the lightsaber. Overall, this was another fun book in the series, definitely better than the previous book. Vader's castle was an interesting location, more so than Dagobah, and Ulder was a much more tolerable character this time around. Probably my biggest complaint with this book is the character of Orlok. To me, Orlok is a very underwhelming antagonist. He isn't intimidating, he doesn't pose much of a threat to our heroes, and he's just a goofy character. Based on the cover for the final book, it seems we haven't seen the last of him, so I hope he's better than the next book, which is called Kenobi's Blade. Alright, finally we have Book 6, Kenobi's Blade. In this one, Ulder travels to Exis Station to learn from the mage Orlok, and our heroes, Anakin, Tahiri, Ikrit, Tion, and R2, arrive to stop Orlok and bring Ulder back to the Academy. Unfortunately, this book was probably my least favorite of the series. Firstly, Exis Station is a very uninteresting and unoriginal setting for this book, and to me, the setting is one of the most important aspects of these young reader books. However, my main issue with this book was that the plot hinges on Ulder, a character that I already dislike, being extremely naive, deceptive, and an all-around unlikable character. It also doesn't do a great job of wrapping up the series as a whole. It spends more time tying up Ulder's character arc instead of Anakin and Tahiri's, and the Orlok plotline is left open-ended. Overall, this wasn't a bad book, it was just a very disappointing finale to an otherwise fun series. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this series. The characters were a lot of fun, and the series was short and sweet. I definitely prefer Nancy Richardson's trilogy over Rebecca Moesta's. I think the Golden Globe plotline was a lot more intriguing, and the character development was much better. Moesta's trilogy was also bogged down by the character of Ulder, who, as you already know, I wasn't a huge fan of. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for my next video where I'll be ranking all 6 books of the series from worst to best, and after that I move on to the Boba Fett comics. See ya.